Good morning and happy Monday, everyone. Dave Scott at our Lakes FM studio and Civic Center TV studios in West Bloomfield, now expanded all across Oakland County, because this is not a simulcast, not a radio broadcast, not a podcast, not a television broadcast. It is the Megacast, where it all comes together to bring all of the latest coronavirus information together to you. In our Lakes FM studios, there have been a bunch of other people in here until I got in here. So as we do, as you can see on TV, we start the program off with a good dose of Clorox. I have taken my mask off for the radio show. You can see I got the Clorox wipes here. We're wiping down the studio. We're doing everything that our friend Dave Coulter and the governor told us to do to make sure we are social distancing. We are keeping our area clean. We are washing our hands like crazy. We are doing everything a good citizen in the state of Michigan could do, and we are going to get we're going to get through this all together. But it's getting a little more complicated now as we begin to open manufacturing here in the state of Michigan. We begin to open up our retail establishments. We begin to get ourselves out there a little bit. More businesses begin to open up. And it's all incumbent on us to do this the right way, or we're going to end up right where we were before. So we get out our masks. We get out our Clorox wipes. We don't flush them down the toilet, but we do get them out. We get out all the things that we need to do. We keep our social distancing. We do it all right, and hopefully we're going to continue to see the really amazing results like we've been seeing over the weekend and the past couple of days. We are making really good progress. We have flattened the curve, and hopefully we are full speed ahead and doing what we really need to do, and that is get back to some semblance of our life, what we now call the new normal. And sitting in the line here via Zoom, it looks like he is standing in front of the Oakland County Executive Office building, but Dave Coulter, I know better. That is some Zoom magic we're looking at. How you doing today?
It's a little bit of magic. I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
I am. See, when you come on the show first, you get that big ball of energy that we start with every day. And you know what? It isn't fake, Dave. I'm fired up. You know why I'm fired up? I'm fired up because the amazing people in Oakland County are really, they're making it happen. We couldn't have seen the results that we've seen without them.
That's exactly right. And, you know, you talk about you're doing all of the things that you're supposed to be doing. The good news is it's working. Just as you said, we have flattened the curve in Oakland County. And so as difficult and inconvenient as it has been, we are seeing the results of all of this effort. And that's very positive news. And we should celebrate that.
Well, we should. And we know, meantime, there's still a crisis going on. We've sadly lost way too many people, Dave. We have too many people that are sick. And we still have a lot of people that are getting sick right now. But we've done a lot. When you think back, as I toss it back to you, Dave Coulter, County Executive, Oakland County, you just think back to where this whole thing started 6, even 8, even longer than that weeks ago. When we knew we had to plan for this, we had a lot of work to do, and then you and the governor and our other elected officials had to come to the people with a really tough message and a life-changing message. But, hey, we're getting through it.
Well, we are, and like you said, not without cost. We're at almost 850 of our fellow residents in Oakland County that have not survived this pandemic, and there will be more. So that always weighs heavily on all of us. And so as we begin to enter this new phase, this sort of gradual reopening phase, we owe it to them, and we owe it to the efforts that we've already made not to allow a second spike, not to miss the opportunity to do this in a safe and cautious manner, because we know we have to get the economy back up and rolling. We can't do this forever, but the pandemic isn't gone. The virus is still with us. It's still very dangerous, and it can spike very easily. This is a very aggressive, very nasty virus, and we cannot for a minute take our eye off of what it can do. And so in Oakland County, what we're doing is, as we're allowing and as the governor's orders allow more businesses to open, like manufacturing and construction, we're going to make sure that we do it, but we do it in a safe way that sticks to the health protocols that we know have been working. And so if we do these things together, I think we have a better chance of really making this work.
Well, I agree. Today on the program, after we're done talking to you, we're going to talk to 3 Oakland County manufacturing companies. Stephen Stone is going to join us next. He is the CEO of the Stone Soap Company in Pontiac. And then we're going to talk to the folks at IQ Manufacturing in Auburn Hills and the Schwader Company. So 3 manufacturers here in Oakland County that are going to start to ramp things up. And Dave Coulter, County Executive, what do you have to say to those folks and all the other manufacturers around the county that are getting ready to get back to work?
You know, I want to say this, not just about our manufacturers, but our businesses in general. There's maybe a perception growing that the business community is pushing people like me and the governor to reopen quickly and maybe even irresponsibly. That has not been my experience at all. I think our business community in Oakland County has been amazing. They've tried to do the right thing. They just want clear guidance and help us figure out how we do this the correct and safe way. But they've leaned in on this. They've made donations. Some of the manufacturers have shifted over production to making PPE equipment. They've donated food. They've donated money. They've taken the responsible efforts. And I would say 99% of the businesses in Oakland County have done an amazing job, just like the residents have. And I know that they want to operate in a safe manner as well. And so we want to work with them. This isn't about dictating to them. It's about working with our business community to make sure that their employees and their customers are safe. And I think we all want that.
No, and you know, there's been a lot of cooperation. You applaud the business owners and the people around the county. We applaud you for your decisions and communicating with your press conferences and your outreach via Facebook, and then the health department in Oakland County doing a good job. All the folks are doing a really good job, and we haven't had too many of these. And I'm not picking on the guy, but we haven't had too many of these Owasso barber situations, where we've gotten to loggerheads. And really, Dave Coulter, I mean, that's another thing to celebrate. I'm not trying to do the good news show. It just is happening today. But, that's just another thing. They got a mess up there in their hands, and I'm sure they're going to work it out one way or another. But, we've had good cooperation between government and the businesses and the people, and we've all kind of partnered really well. And, it didn't have to go that way. It's been going that way for the most part in Oakland County, wouldn't you say?
I would. And you bring up a good point, because one of the reasons that we do so much communication and we get the data out there and we give people information is because this really is a trust between the government and the business community and the residents. We don't have enough law enforcement personnel to bust every business and to really create the kind of dictatorship that some people are worried about. There has to be a partnership. There is a certain amount of trust. So my hope is that by giving the communications, by giving the facts, by letting people see the information, they will understand and voluntarily follow these orders. We're not trying to fill up the jails with barbershop owners. And I think we've managed to avoid that for the most part, because we've tried to be very transparent about what's been happening and what we need folks to do. And they have voluntarily stepped up. And that's what I say about our businesses and our residents. And so we haven't had a lot of instances like that. Thank goodness.
Dave Coulter, County Executive here in Oakland County, joining us here on the Megacast. Dave Scott, Erica Jones in the studio with us today. We'll check in with her in a couple of moments. Tyler Keefe running around. Thanks to all of our radio stations, Lakes FM in West Bloomfield, the Biff in Bloomfield Hills, WAHS in Avondale, our TV outlets in Birmingham and West Bloomfield and beyond, and all of you tuning in today. Thank you very much. Executive Coulter, you guys have been doing a good job, and the implementation has been so much better on testing. You opened up that testing center at the county facility. How's that going?
It's going really well, and so well that we've expanded it. So we're now doing drive-through testing at the county campus in Pontiac. We're also doing it in Southfield. at our South Oakland Health office on Greenfield Road in Southfield. And just last week, we expanded it. On Fridays, we're doing testing in Novi at the Civic Center in Novi. So we're trying to broaden our reach of testing. It's simple to do. You just call our nurse on call number and you can make it yourself. You can get yourself a reservation, an appointment to do that. But we know that ultimately reopening the government, the economy, reopening businesses is going to require a lot more testing. And so we're trying to bring testing to more areas of the county. And then the other real focus around testing for us has been in the nursing homes and the senior living facilities, because we know those people are most at risk. And so we have a unique partnership that we just tried out over the last couple of weeks with the EMS workers from West Bloomfield and Southfield and Birmingham. And we're going to use those paramedics who are already trained to do testing in all of our nursing homes and senior living facilities, because we want to make sure that all those folks get tested as well. So we continue to expand the testing that we do. We know that's going to be critical to getting back to life as we used to know it.
Well, Dave Coulter, I appreciate you telling me about that. I'll talk to Greg Flynn and the other chiefs of the fire departments around our area and find out how that program is going. But that's a really good idea, and I'm glad that that is helping out. We know the nursing homes are just at the epicenter of this. You know, on the testing front, too, you're talking about what's going on the municipal side. There's also more testing that at least we've been seeing on the private sector, too. I had a quick care facility. I think the Telegraph Quick Care has a number of centers around the area. They're testing. In addition, they said, I don't know if you know about this or not, in addition, they told me on the show last week that they're going out and they're going to be helping businesses by helping businesses test on site as well. So there's all kinds of things going on, and the testing is improved an awful lot.
Yeah, you know, we're starting to see, just like you would for the seasonal flu vaccine, that you can get at Rite Aid and at your local pharmacy now, that some of them now have the kits and the lab capacity to do these tests. And I'm all for it. The more, this isn't a competition, the more places that you can go conveniently to get a test, the better. Now, some of them charge, some of them don't. Our testing is free, but so it's a mix of fee or non or free at some of those private sites, but whatever's most convenient for you and wherever you feel most comfortable, I encourage people to get a test wherever that may be available.
I appreciate you mentioning that, Dave, and it is going to be helpful as these businesses ramp up. Some of them are going to want to be increasing their testing as well, so having it available from a wide variety of sources. I didn't look at the numbers this morning. I know you're always looking at the numbers. I heard we had a pretty favorable couple of days, but can you bring us up to date on what you see happening out in the community lately?
Yeah, so a couple of things. You know, we have about 7,700 total cases of positives, 841 deaths. The good news, almost 5,100 recoveries, which is nice. We started a few weeks ago tracking recoveries, and that's a positive number. Like you, I did notice that the numbers this weekend were down. However, I'm not sure what to make of that, because weekend numbers are often down. And I don't know if there's less reporting that happens over the weekend. So I'll be more interested in seeing what this afternoon's numbers are, and we'll get those probably sometime around 1 or 2 p.m. I do watch those very closely. But having said that, it does look like Oakland County hit its peak somewhere around the second week of April. So we are on a gradual decline. We are on the downside of the curve right now. So that is good news. It does show that the steps that we've taken have brought this down. And so that's why the governor would say we're in phase 3, which is flattening, and stage 4, which is significant decline. I think if these numbers hold up, we'll be in stage 4 relatively soon. And so that is reason for optimism. It does say it's working. But the weekend numbers to me are always a little squishy, because I've noticed this in the past, and then there'll be a spike on Monday, and it really was just numbers not getting reported. The system isn't perfect, to be, but in general, the overarching news is that we seem to be beyond our peak, and we're moving in the right direction.
So, Dave Coulter, I don't want to get you in the middle of a big political mess here. I promise not to do that on our show. But what would you be advising the governor, if you will? You are at the helm of certainly probably the most prolific county in the state of Michigan when it comes to business. We have a lot of business interests here in Oakland County. What would you be recommending to the governor as we get toward the end of the month as far as continuing to open businesses, continuing to relax things? If I just promoted you to governor and you had the pen, what would you be telling her to do with it?
Ooh, I'd have more gray hairs than I have already because she's in a tough job. But, I think her most recent order, I would describe it like some of her previous ones. They're tough decisions to make, but I think it was appropriate. So she extended the stay-at-home till May 28th, but at the same time, sort of taking a more scalpel approach in terms of which industries are best poised to be able to open. And I think that's the hard thing. Politics has gotten very black and white. It's easy to be on this camp or that camp, but I believe that this pandemic requires us to be a balance of staying safe, making sure that we're listening to the public health folks and we're doing things in a safe manner, and yet reopening industries as the protocols allow, as we are safe to do so. And politics doesn't react well to nuance. It's easier to argue one side or the other, but we have to thread the needle. We have to reopen our economy, but we have to do it in a way that's safe. And I would argue that makes residents feel confident that it's safe to go back out. If she said tomorrow, she's getting a lot of heat, I know, from the restaurants. And if she said tomorrow restaurants could go back to normal, I doubt that a lot of people would go back to eating in restaurants where we're at today, unless you knew that your server was negative and your chef was negative and that you could be socially distanced in a way that kept you safe. I think there's going to be a lot of fear on the part of the public. And so I don't think people are going to flock back to those things. So we have to do both. We have to create an environment where consumers feel safe, and they are safe, and businesses have what they need to offer a safe environment. So, it's a nuance, and nuance and politics doesn't always go well together. But I think she's going to have to continue to try to thread that needle, and I think she's done a good job of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, and I've said several times, untangling these knots a lot harder than putting them together in the first place, and those are hard decisions too. I look at like Troy and Royal Oak and Birmingham and all these great restaurants, and I could go on and on. Rochester, all these Ferndale, thank you. Yes, all these great, of course, your town. Yeah. All these great communities with all these restaurants. We're dying to get back in there. We really are. So hopefully it'll happen soon. Do you think just crystal ball, I don't know if you want to come out and say it, but you think like maybe June, July? What are you thinking?
I think it's a possibility. I think you put it well. It's easy. It was easier to shut down than to open back up for lots of good reasons. But if you notice, one of the things that we did as we were shutting down in Oakland County is we said, well, maybe you go to 50% capacity. That allows you enough room in your establishments to provide for that social distancing. I could see something like that being part of an order to help restaurants get back up to at least 50% capacity plus carryouts. I think that would be a benefit to our restaurant owners and restaurant workers, and I could see something like that happen. So I don't think it's going to be where suddenly one day, okay, restaurants back to normal. I think you're going to have a phased reopening. It'll probably be some sort of percentage of capacity with some kind of protocols where you do a health screening of your employees, for instance. I think that's totally reasonable. And I don't think June seems like an unreasonable time frame for that. But again, it's going to require the numbers continuing to trend where they're at now.
Dave Coulter, County.
I'm getting a lot the questions about festivals over the,
No, go ahead, continue.
I'm getting a lot of questions about festivals. And the reality is, we won't know until we get a little closer and those numbers continue to do what they're doing now. So we have to keep at it. And the better we do now, the more sacrifice we make now, the quicker we'll get back to it.
Yeah, well, we really hope those festivals, events, meetings, conferences. It's more than festivals. It's we got a lot of properties in Oakland County and a lot of interest in Oakland County that are engaged in meetings and hotels and all these other things too. We want to get it all going, but it's all going to happen at the right time. So, yeah, I know that the organizers I talked to, they're working on a plan. And a plan B and a plan C, just probably like the restaurants are working on.
Yeah.
And we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
Let me ask you one final question, Dave Coulter. You've been very charitable with your time. Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter with us. So you're in Oakland County, one of the most populous counties in the state of Michigan, certainly one of the most impacted counties in the state of Michigan. If someone says, hey, look, in Sheboygan County, they really have very little activity up there. Maybe we can open up some businesses there quicker than we can in southeastern Michigan. Do you have a problem with that, or do you have any thoughts on that for the governor and other people who are making those decisions?
One of the things I would tell our friends in northern Michigan, one of the things that I learned was just how quickly this virus spreads and how pervasive it can be. We went from 1 or 2 cases to hundreds of cases really, really quickly. It is hard to stop once the genie is out of the bottle. And so what's the problem with that? Well, not only is it obviously impacting our residents' health, but I saw how quickly it overwhelmed our healthcare system. And we have one of the best healthcare systems. We have like 14 hospitals in Oakland County. We have, Beaumont and St. Joe's and amazing hospital capacity, and quickly within weeks their capacity was overwhelmed. So thank your lucky stars if you don't have a spike and you're in the north area, but just know it could take one large gathering to create a spike that not only would put hundreds of your residents at risk, but could overwhelm your healthcare system. So that's what was really impressed on me, was just how quickly and devastatingly this virus takes hold to people and systems. And I would say learn from what we saw and continue to take this incredibly serious.
All right. Dave Coulter, thank you very much. Anything else for the fine people of Oakland County and Michigan before we say so long?
I just want to say thank you. I know this hasn't been easy. It was really hard for me yesterday because I do Mother's Day at my house and I have my family over and we weren't able to do it. I know the personal hardship that and that's nothing compared to people who have lost loved ones or have had them sick. So I just want to say to the people of Oakland County, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for taking this seriously. Thank you for leaning in and donating to organizations that are helping. And just know that we have a little ways to go, but what you've done has made a difference, and it's appreciated.
David Coulter, thank you very much. Your time is appreciated as well. You're doing a good job communicating with the people and making some tough decisions. We appreciate you taking time for us. He is the executive of Oakland County, David Coulter, joining us again here on the Megacast. Dave Scott and now Erica Jones in our Lakes FM studios, and we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute. We'll chat, take a look at some of the top headlines. Stephen Stone will join us. He is the CEO of the Stone Soap Company, and we're going to hear from him. Manufacturing, according to the governor, opens back up today in the state of Michigan. What kind of impact is that having on our Oakland County businesses? We'll find out. Thank you for tuning in to the Megacast. A huge thank you to the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission, who provide us all the resources we need to do this show every day. We're sitting in our Lakes FM studios on Walnut Lake Road in West Bloomfield, the home of 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV, where you can watch our program on Channel 15 Comcast, Channel 99 AT&T, same thing going on in Birmingham area, municipal access, they call it BAMA there in that area, or BAMA, and we are on Channel 15 there as well. Big thanks to 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, and Ron Whitable and the crew at Bloomfield Hills High School, and thanks to Logan and everybody at WAHS 89.5. Avondale Community Radio, where you are listening to the program as well. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. Our top priority remains slowing the spread of COVID-19 in our communities. Please stay home, and when you must go out to an essential business, take precautions like social distancing and washing your hands when you come home. Because of the pandemic, we are behind in our response rate in Michigan. While you are home, please take a few minutes to fill out the census. It is more important than ever that we receive money back from our federal government. The census is Oakland Together.
I know you're concerned about the coronavirus, and we're working hard to combat its spread and keep your family safe. But we need your help too. Wash your hands often with soap for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face and cough into your sleeve. Replace handshakes with an elbow bump. Avoid large crowds or events, and if you're sick, stay home and call your health provider. Every one of us can make a difference limiting the virus's spread and keeping Michigan healthy.
All right, welcome back. This is the Megacast on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH The Biff, Bloomfield Hills, WAHS 89.5, Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Television. My notes do not include, I'm just looking here, my notes do not include a Facebook partner, but I'm sure we're on Facebook somewhere today. Thank you very much. Delighted to be joined in studio by the newest member of our team. This is Erica Jones, West Bloomfield resident, graduate of the famed West Bloomfield High School, and junior at the University of Miami. Back home here in West Bloomfield. Good to have you with us today, Erica.
Thank you.
Good. We're gonna have some time to chat in a little bit. Erica is going to be reporting on the streets after she gets through her initial training today with the West Bloomfield Police Department. So you're going over to the police department, and you are going to get all the PPE and gloves and all the stuff you need, right?
Yeah, I'm going over there this afternoon, so that should be exciting.
All right. Well, and then you're going to be out. You know, this week is, I just was handed a note, this is Hospital Week here in our country, so we're going to recognize our hospitals in our service area, and we'll have more on that. Of course, we're keeping an eye on the barber, the world's most famous barber in Michigan, up in Owasso, who has been hard at work, and today is like confrontational day up there. They're going to shut him down, I think. Great news that Pfizer is hard at work in West Michigan, putting together their vaccine plan, and that's making headlines. And, of course, manufacturing opening right here at home today. And with that in mind, we are delighted to flip over to our Zoom system and say hello to a new friend, Stephen Stone. Mr. Stone is the CEO of the Stone Soap Company, and I've got to hit a couple of buttons here because I am the only one pressing the buttons. All of our engineers, Mr. Stone, are at home. They're doing the work at home thing here. So I've just got to hit a few buttons because something got messed up in our system. Let me try that one more time. All right, we're just going to go ahead. I assume you can hear me. Tyler, I hit that button. Tyler's coming in to help me now. That doesn't work. Mr. Stone, thank you for joining us on the Megacast. How you doing today? Can you hear me? Okay, he can.
Good morning.
There we go.
Pleased to be with you. Can you hear me?
I can. You know, this Zoom technology works about 90% of the time, so I can hear you. Can you hear me okay? Tell you what, it says our internet is unstable. Why don't we take a break? Because I definitely want to hear you just fine, and we're having a little difficulty here. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back in a moment. And we are going to get you on the phone just so we can hear you real well. This is the Megacast. We'll be right back.
Home to the all-new West Bloomfield Megacast, live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. Tune in anywhere on 89.3 Lakes FM or 89.3lakesfm.com. Keeping you connected in West Bloomfield during the coronavirus outbreak. 89.3 Lakes FM.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19. Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. We know that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across Michigan right now. The most important thing people can do to protect themselves is social distancing. That means unless you are a critical infrastructure worker or going out to get food or medicine for your home, you should be staying at home. Stay home, stay safe, save lives.
Hi, I'm Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. Our top priority remains slowing the spread of COVID-19 in our communities. Please stay home, and when you must go out to an essential business, take precautions like social distancing and washing your hands when you come home. Because of the pandemic, we are behind in our response rate in Michigan. While you are home, please take a few minutes to fill out the census. It is more important than ever that we receive money back from our federal government. The census is Oakland Together.
All right, thank you very much, County Executive Coulter. Okay, I think we have things worked out now. Let's hit a button or two. Joining us on the line now is Stephen Stone. He is the CEO of Stone Soap Company. Sorry about the technical problems, sir. Hello, welcome to the Megacast. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Pleased to be with you this morning.
Well, good to be with you. You sound great on the phone. Much better that we can hear you perfectly. We have a lovely picture of you to put on television, which we will do right now. So thanks for joining us. Just to answer your question that you asked me off the air, our broadcast is on the air right now on 89.3 WBLD in the West Bloomfield area, 88.1 WBFH in the Bloomfield Hills area, and 89.5 WAHS at the Avondale Auburn Hills area, covering a ton of Oakland and Macomb County. We're live on Birmingham Television and our West Bloomfield Television. So, Mr. Stone, you are the CEO of Stone Soap Company, and I assume you're one of the largest manufacturers of hand sanitizers. So you've probably been manufacturing for a while, but manufacturing is opening today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been going on at your shop through the whole crisis?
Well, first of all, I want to make one small correction. The CEO of Stone Soap Company is actually my older brother, Ken Stone. I am the executive vice president of the company. We are 50-50 partners or owners in Stone Soap, and we've been around 88 years.
Don't tell Ken I gave you a promotion. We'll keep that just between you and me.
Right.
Well, so you have been, I assume you've been making hand sanitizer, so you have been manufacturing through this whole crisis, correct?
The answer is yes and no. We have been manufacturing hand sanitizer, alcohol-based hand sanitizer in a very substantial way since nearly the beginning of the lockdown period, when it became apparent that hand sanitizer was in such dire need. We are primarily a manufacturer for the car wash industry and biopesticides for the agricultural market, both nationally and internationally. So it was very easy for us to transition to hand sanitizer when it became appropriate to do so.
Well, that is great news, and you're one of the many companies that has pivoted and pivoted at a critical time to help us. Tell us a little bit about some of the other things that your company is doing, and are you joining other manufacturers now and bringing back most of your people and getting back to somewhat normal operations as we see the governor loosening up orders?
Well, I should first tell you that we never furloughed anybody. When the lockdown first happened, although we lost probably about 70% of our market, car washes nationwide were closed. We still had 30% of our business, which is the biopesticides for agriculture, which is certainly an essential industry. So we remained open, albeit it was a money-losing proposition because in order to employ the folks that we employ and keep our footprint open, it was a very expensive proposition. But we were determined to not furlough anyone because we're an old-time family operation, and many of our employees have been with us 20, 30, and 40-plus years. However, once we geared up to manufacture hand sanitizer, it became an all-hands-on-deck enterprise, and certainly we needed everybody whom we employ to be there, often 7 days a week. And we even took in temporary employment from various family members of employees, spouses, for example, as well as some of their adult children. So it's kind of an interesting experience, to say the least.
It is, and I commend you. You know, I have another business that I am involved in when I'm not broadcasting on the radio and TV, and we did the same thing, and it was really nice to be able to keep everybody there. But at the end of not every business could do that. There are a lot of folks that are not in the same enviable position that you are and your company, Stephen Stone and our company, were in, but it was really nice to be able to do that and keep all the employees there. So let's talk a little bit about your company, and it's interesting what you do. You mentioned that you make products for the car wash industry. You want to tell us a little bit about your history and what you folks do at Stone Soap Company?
Well, Stone Soap Company was founded in 1932 by my father, Ralph Stone. And in the 88 years that we've been in business, our markets morphed. Initially, it was the local restaurant business, local laundries and such that we manufactured for. And through the years, we morphed into all sorts of different markets because often in business, your markets change, and if you don't change with your markets, you go away when your markets go away. About 50 years ago, we were I would say we were the very first car wash manufacturer in the country that was devoted to pioneering various car wash products, detergents, shampoos, and other cleaners. And that was primarily due to the fact that the very first car washes in the country originated right here. The world's first self-serve car wash, for example, started in Flint. The world's first automatic car wash started on Fort Street in Detroit. And the world's origin of cloth car washes started in in Northville. So it was natural for Stone Soap Company to be at the forefront of developing products for that market.
You know, it's funny. We have these conversations on this show, Stephen Stone. Thank you for telling us that, because something interesting always comes out of these phone calls and these Zoom chats, and I had no idea. Now, I knew about the legacy that Metro Detroit had with regard to shopping malls. They all started right here. The enclosed malls started right here in Detroit. And we also have a legacy of the highway system, really. The expressways started here in Detroit. But I didn't know the car washes started here in Detroit. So another development that a feather we can put in Michigan's cap. And obviously you've been a big part of that. And I like what you're talking about today because it really applies to every single one of the business owners and all the people that work at all these businesses that are tuning in. And that if you can't pivot, if you can't adjust, if you can't change to market conditions, it can get awful tough. And your company's been around for a long time because you've been able to do that. And I imagine that has served you well during this crisis, Stephen Stone.
Indeed it has. Indeed it has. This pivot to manufacturing alcohol-based hand sanitizer has been quite an experience for us. We're in a unique position because of our footprint in tanks that can handle large quantities of alcohol in a safe manner. We're in a position to produce literally tens of thousands of gallons of alcohol-based hand sanitizer every single week, and the demand is just through the roof.
Well, we're all supposed to be walking around with hand sanitizer and using it, so and that we noticed right when this started that there just wasn't enough to be had. So that's really good news. What can you share with us? So today there are probably many businesses that are getting ready to open back up, manufacturing businesses that have been shut down for quite a while. What kind of tips might you have for them as they bring their employees back in and work on all the things that we need to work on right now in this current environment?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is social distancing is not as difficult in the workplace as one might imagine. We've been able to exercise that practice right from the very beginning, and all of our employees have been very conscientious in staying away from each other. We're very fortunate that we do have a large footprint. We're a 120,000 square foot facility, so it's not necessary for employees to be right on top of each other. But my advice to any business that reopens is, to the fullest extent possible, keep your distance.
Well, no, I mean, it's simple. These instructions that have come down are really not all that complicated. Social distancing, wash your hands, wear a mask, just do the basics, and hopefully things will go well. We've seen in a lot of industries, though, that were open, that were essential, that it didn't go well. The meat industry and others have had terrible outbreaks. There's even a little mini outbreak going on in the White House right now. Have you had any similar problems at your facilities?
We've been very fortunate. We have yet to have any employees get sick or come down with a COVID-19 positive situation.
All right, so you're like checking their temperature and doing those kind of things and following all the procedures, I assume, and that's worked out well. And nobody's gotten sick in your facilities.
That is correct.
All right. Well, I see a note here from our producers, and you kind of mentioned the size of your facility. You're right in the heart of our service area. It says that because of the size of your facility, where it happens to be situated, your property is in Pontiac, Sylvan Lake, and Bloomfield Township, and you get the pleasure of paying taxes in all three of those communities.
That is an interesting aside. Where we set our building. We have two industrial buildings. Both sit within an 8.5 acre property line, which includes Sylvan Lake, Bloomfield Township, and Pontiac. So, indeed, we pay taxes to all three municipalities.
All right, I hope you don't mind me asking this. I've always been curious about this, and I've never had a car wash soap expert. Didn't really think that would be part of what I would be doing today, but never really had anyone who knew everything that you know about soap and car washes. So we get our car wash. I love getting my car washed. I get it washed a lot. Do you we see all that water circulating through. Are we doing everything we can to make that as environmentally sound as we can? And are the things your industries are working on in that regard?
That happens to be an excellent question. I'm thrilled to actually be in a position to answer that. First of all, the materials that one washes off their cars are, by definition, environmentally undesirables. So consequently, washing one's car in the driveway is really a no-no. And in fact, it flies in the face of the federal Clean Air and Water Act. So by all rights, washing your car in the driveway is patently illegal. But when one washes the car in a commercial car wash, the water that is used is either one purified in a water reclaim system in many cases, or it is filtered before it is discharged into the municipal water supply. And that's a very important point about where it gets discharged into. If one washes their car in their driveway, the water finds its way to the storm sewer. Storm sewers, there's no treatment plant involved, so all of the water that goes to a storm sewer from your driveway goes right back into the environment without any further treatment. A car wash, if it's not already reprocessing its water with a water reclaim system, the water that is discharged into the effluents, into the drain, goes to a sanitary sewer as opposed to a storm sewer. And sanitary sewers go to a sewerage facility that treats the water such that it is made fit to return back to the environment.
All right, well, thanks. I always wondered, and I'd like the crazy man that I am, I'm always thinking, well, maybe I got to get there and get my car washed first thing in the morning so I don't get that dirty water later on in the day.
Right.
But they're making it better, and we'll be very careful on our driveways. Stephen Stone, thank you for joining us today.
There is one thing I do wish to mention because I know this is concern for us. Although we're a major manufacturer in the Midwest for hand sanitizer, we are not equipped to sell to the public. That's not what we do. We manufacture for distribution, and I realize, of course, that there are folks that are listening in or watching this broadcast that may be inclined to call us up. Please don't call us. We really can't handle you. Better you should contact some of the local distributors who do handle our product, like Allen's Naturally, which is a company situated in Sylvan Lake, Michigan, that serves the local community as well as nationally.
Well, I appreciate that information. As we are cleaning our cars, and again, I didn't think I'd be going there today, is there anything else that we need to be worried about? I mean, anything coronavirus? I mean, I imagine that touching your car is just as bad as touching any other surface. Are you doing anything to the cleaners or coming out with any special cleaners to help get our cars cleaned and coronavirus free, or is it just business as usual?
Well, let me preface it by saying that according to all of the current scientific data, the coronavirus does very poorly on an outdoor surface.
Oh, okay.
And certainly the outside surface of your car that's exposed to ultraviolet light all day long, the virus doesn't do very well. In fact, this particular virus is described by the CDC environmentally as a WIMP. So I wouldn't be concerned about anyone encountering transmission of the virus on the surface of their car. Now, probably the only thing one would be should be wary of course, is traveling inside your car with somebody else who may be COVID-19 positive. That's a different issue.
All right. Well, Stephen, thank you very much. You've been a real gentleman. Thank you for all your time. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We did get you on screen for most of the broadcast, and good to chat with you. We'll keep in touch. And, my friend, every time I get my car cleaned, I'll be thinking of you. So very good, and good luck to all the folks at Stone Soap Company in Pontiac, Sylvan Lake, and Bloomfield Township. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, there he is, Stephen Stone. You know, I tell you what, we have just learned more than I ever thought we would learn about car washes and soap. Eric Jones?
Yeah, for sure. I love going to the car wash. It's like my favorite thing whenever I can. So, but I didn't know that, it was started in Michigan. I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
To learn about.
Very cool. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to more of our manufacturers. Hopefully we're checking with some folks that are ramping things back up. But I just couldn't help but learning more about car washes. Tyler, you're going to hit a button for us. Thank you for popping in. We are I got to come way over here. That's okay. You can go ahead and do it. I'm way over here. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. This is the Megacast.
The Centers for Disease Control in Oakland County Health Division encourages households to prepare for the possibility of a coronavirus outbreak in their community. Keep extra items in your house for an extended stay at home. Remember any special food items for babies, the elderly, and pets. Keep non-prescription drugs and other health supplies on hand, such as personal medications, at least 1 month's supply, first aid kits, alcohol-based hand sanitizer, at least 60% alcohol, non-mercury thermometer, and get copies and maintain electronic versions of health records. Talk with family members about how they would be cared for if they got sick and what would be needed to care for them in your home. Learn about the plan at your child's school and your workplace. Discuss sick leave policies and/or telework options for workers who become ill. For more information, go to oakgov.com/health or call our Nurse on Call hotline at 1-800-848-5533.
Coronavirus is deadly, but Michigan can fight back. Our front doors are the front lines of defense. Staying home is the best way to stop the spread, because just one infected person can give it to 40, who can give it to countless more. So call Grandma, don't visit. Video chat, don't meet up. And if you must go out for food or medicine, keep at least 6 feet from others. Stay home, stay safe, stop the spread.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
And we are all doing exactly that, doing all we can to keep ourselves safe, to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Especially important right now as we begin to open businesses, well, more and more of them, including manufacturing opening today in our backyard, around our county, and around the state of Michigan. We're going to talk to Chris Braniecki in just a couple of moments from IQ Manufacturing in Auburn Hills and find out how things are going there as they ramp up on this Back to Manufacturing Day. You're listening to 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake 88.1 WBFH, Bloomfield Hills 89.5 WAHS Auburn Hills. You're watching us on Civic Center TV in West Bloomfield, Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Birmingham area, municipal access all around the Birmingham area, and that is in Birmingham, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin. And thank you also for going to our website. It is civiccentertv.com, where you can watch us live online. So joining us now, as I mentioned, the Director of Operations from IQ Manufacturing in Auburn Hills, Chris Braniecki. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you very much. Sorry we couldn't get you on Zoom. It's just the Zoom computers seem to be freaking out. All you manufacturing operations are coming back online. There's no internet for us little radio shows here.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about the complications. It's been a hectic morning getting all of our team back and up and running.
No. It's all cool, and I appreciate that. So as a starting point, tell us all about IQ Manufacturing in Auburn Hills, what you do.
We're generally, like, to the layperson, we'd be considered a job shop, but we make plastic injection tooling. We do CNC machining. We inject plastic injection parts. We do a variety of different things in manufacturing. We're AS91 certified and ITAR registered. So we do military stuff. We do a lot of automotive and aerospace stuff as well. But obviously we pivoted a lot recently with all the COVID stuff. We've been involved in a lot of COVID-related projects lately.
Well, you're clearly one of the companies that needs to get back up and operating if you are supplying to the automotive manufacturers and others. The other levels of manufacturing can't happen without the suppliers. So I think that was part of the thinking to get manufacturing open today so suppliers can ramp back up. And then we'll see the big three and some of the big manufacturers here in the state of Michigan get going over the next couple of weeks. Chris, what kind of challenges is manufacturing going to be facing over these next couple of weeks?
One of the things that's kind of lost on everybody, especially public officials, is that, like, we had a lot of inventory that we had machined ready to ship, you know, a couple months back before the shutdown, and that product hasn't been able to ship. And typically you ship product and then you're paid on net 60, net 90, even net 120 terms. So a lot of companies are going to have problems with cash flow over the next few months. We're in a good cash position ourselves, but I can see some people really running into trouble because, you know, 2 months have elapsed and you have a month's worth of work that you did 3 months ago that you haven't even handed in yet to start the 90-day time. So, you know, what you did in February or March, you're not going to get paid for it till like July or August.
Did any of the PPP loans or any of the other government loans were you guys able to get any of those, and any of those programs help with the situation at all?
Yes, we were able to secure our PPP loan, and it has helped, of course. We were in a good financial position, fortunately, because we had a record year last year. So thankfully, we were in a good position. We actually had a little bit of luck with the timing. We're only a 5-year-old company. I think at any other time in our existence, we'd be in much more dire straits.
So you did shift, Chris, during the coronavirus and started making some other things. Tell us what you were working on when the crisis originally struck.
So when we originally struck, we do production. We have a production part we cut for Tesla. We make a lot of stamping components for the GM trucks. We do a lot of prototyping for FCA and some for GM on prototype components for model cars and show cars that are coming out down the road. And so that's what we were doing all then. And then when everything closed, we were actually shut down completely for 3 weeks. Even though we're a defense contractor and we had the rights to be essential and open, obviously, like, we had no work. So we shut down for 3 weeks, and then we got a COVID-related project, and we built some injection molding tooling to make some knobs and switches for some UV robots that they're testing in some hospitals in and around Massachusetts to clean rooms. So these robots will go in and autonomous robots will go in and clean the room with UV light.
See, you know, this is what I love about this show. I get to hear about all these things that are unrelated to the interview, but that kind of makes sense. So it's kind of like those little vacuum cleaner pods that we have that, you know, kind of go around and vacuum our house when we're not home. These guys, you're building parts for a company that's going to go in and take UV and clean out rooms, because UV kills the coronavirus. So I get that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of a cool deal. I'm sure it's not quite as simple as that thing I've got in my living room that vacuums my floor. But
no, we're also doing something that's more basic with a partner out of Ann Arbor called Arbor Apothecary. They make some door pull assists. They're called health handles. They're made out of copper, and they're for, you know, touching stuff at the gas station or at the bank or whatever, and they go on your finger. And we're doing some production machining for those out of copper, some higher volumes of those too. So that's a second project that's COVID-related directly.
Chris Braniecki is joining us. He is the Director of Operations at IQ Manufacturing in Auburn Hills. And just like our last guest, Chris, who you did not hear likely, you guys have been able to pivot. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, because everyone listening today is either working for or working at a company that's had to pivot. We've almost all had to pivot in some regard. How did that go at your shop? Any advice, any thoughts about the challenges of the pivot?
Yeah, actually, we were fortunate because a lot of guys have operated over the last 30 or 40 years, and they don't have to worry about quality certifications and stuff like that. But because we're AS9100 and ISO 9001, which are quality systems, those systems will translate into other fields. Like, because we do defense and aerospace, those quality standards transfer over to medical rather easily. So we were fortunate. If you were a company that didn't have a quality standard in place, I'm not sure the pivot is really even a viable thing, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do. How do you think it was? I mean, wouldn't it have been fun to be sitting in on the meetings at our major auto manufacturers when they, shifted? Talk about a pivot. How about pivoting from making cars to making vents? I mean, are you kidding me? That's crazy that they did that.
Yeah, those are a lot more complicated. We had quoted a lot of machining for those. We never actually landed any of those contracts, but we quoted some of those projects. And people discount in the media how complicated those devices are. They just think you hit the ventilator button and it comes out of the machine or something. It's they're pretty intricate, complicated machines. And they've done, the big threes that are doing them have done a good job of getting booted up. It's kind of amazing if you think about how fast they've been able to make tens of thousands of ventilators.
It totally blows my mind when I think about that. And, you look at I've seen a ventilator. It's a complex medical device and got to have all the safety features you would expect. And no, it's crazy that they did that. Chris Bernanke joining us, Director of Operations, IQ Manufacturing, right in our own backyard in Auburn Hills. Chris, I appreciate you taking a moment or two with our audience today. Can you talk about what you guys have had to do to get all of the rest of your employees back in the building, and what kind of safety precautions and how you're deploying that at IQ Manufacturing?
Yeah, so basically what I did is I just went on the Oakland County website and have been following their guidance. You know what I mean? We're using their direct questionnaire from the county. We have all our guys coming in a single door. We have all our guys wearing masks. We have a very large facility. It's 30,000 square feet, so it's easy for guys to stay spread out. We have guys, normally guys bounce around on different machines, but now we have them on dedicated tasks, dedicated workstations. We've taken our computer programming guys, we've spread them out. We're doing the obvious stuff, taking temperatures and stuff like that. It's good that there's some clear government guidance that's local. I'm glad that the county did that, because to be honest, when there's federal and state rules, you're like, well, whose rules do I follow, and everything else. But the county has good directives, so we're just based off the county directive, and we're just following those to the T, taking the survey, asking if any of our guys have been at risk, have they been exposed, and thankfully this morning we've had no concerns.
Well, Chris, I think you're right on target, and I wish Dave Coulter would have heard that, because I had him on earlier. I'll send him a tape, because the county executive would be really happy to hear you say that. And I echo your comment. Same thing. We did the exact same thing in our business, and we went to the county site, pulled that information, and it seems the more local this stuff gets, the more it hits home. That's really the whole theme of this show, to try to find out what's happening in our neighborhood, because you really can't watch CNN and figure out what the heck's going on right now. I mean, as it applies to a day-to-day. Would you have liked to seen manufacturing open earlier, or do you think you guys could have got through this whole thing, this crisis, without having to close? I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody. You have any thoughts on that?
No, I have mixed feelings on that myself. We can definitely, in manufacturing, we can keep our people apart. But at the large factories, when they have 3,000 employees and stuff, it's just impossible. I mean, you just can't move 3,000 people through the same doorway and not expose them and whatever. So I think it could have been maybe more targeted. But with everything going on as fast-paced as everything was moving, the manufacturing being shut down the way it was, probably, it all stems from the big three. If their factories can't operate safely, well, how can us suppliers? We have nothing to do then, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense to have us go to work and not do very much, And then when we got COVID projects, we brought in a skeleton crew and whatever, and, we were deemed essential, like I said, because we're a defense contractor. So before even the shutdown, we had the rights to stay open, but we just chose not to because we didn't have any current defense contracts. And then once we landed COVID stuff, we brought back a limited staff, and obviously it's easy in a large building to keep people apart, but
All right. Well, Chris, thank you for joining us. I look forward to meeting you in person at some point. And I don't know, maybe if conditions are right and we can do it in a safe way and it makes sense for everybody, we can get somebody out there and see what's going on. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And you guys, tell your guys in your shop, if they don't know it, they're heroes too, because, just like the first responders and the medical people, the current day equivalent of Rosie the Riveter and the other manufacturing that happened during World War II, guys and gals alike, that's how we won the war. And it's a large part of how we're winning the war on this one, and that's why I'm so happy to see manufacturing open today and hear stories like yours, Chris. So thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
All right, there he is, Chris Braniecki, and the company is called IQ Manufacturing. They're in Auburn Hills, and as we get back to manufacturing, that is one of the great stories. They're obviously making an awful lot happen and have a great ability to pivot. So I am Dave Scott on the other side of the studio, observing all county rules and regulations, is Erica Jones. Hi, Erica. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Welcome to our broadcast. Any observation given the folks we've talked to so far today?
I think it's really cool to hear all their different input and different parts of the community, I guess, that they work with. Like, I think, what's his name? Stone Soaps, that was super cool to hear from. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know, and even not related to the coronavirus. Sometimes it's nice to get a little break from that. So I love hearing it all, and just, like you said, we're not going to get this same stuff watching CNN, and it's way too broad for us to be able to understand what's going on in our specific area. So this is a great way to get that information and share with others.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and it's good to have another set of hands here. We're gonna send you out in the field. You're a lot younger than I am, so I know you're not going to get sick anyway, but we're going to send you out in the field, and you're going to go over to the West Bloomfield Police Department. They've got masks and gloves and recommendations and advice, and it'll be fun to just get all that and share that with our audience, and then we're going to be able to tell some of the stories now that the business is opening up a little bit, and get out to some of the restaurants, see how the carryout is going, see how the retail is going in our area. And we have to figure out, I don't know if we've entirely figured out how to do a radio and or television interview and stay 6 feet away from people. I understand that you got some really cool, super long selfie sticks, though, that you're going to use for your phone and your camera. Hopefully we'll be able to catch some stories that way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got some new stuff to try out, so we'll see how that works. I'm looking forward to it.
We will pivot. We will adjust here as well. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple of moments. I'm going to get Tyler back in here. We're going to take a look at some of the top news stories of the day here on Civic Center TV and all of our outlets in a little bit. And later on in the program, we are going to be chatting. I believe we are going to be checking in somewhere on my list here. Oh, yes. There it is. We are going to be talking on page 3. We're going to be talking to Representative Ryan Berman of the Michigan State Legislature. He is representative from the 39th District. So that and more coming up. This is the Megacast. We'll be right back.
Technology like smartphones are wonderful devices to reduce social isolation in older adults. You can call grandchildren, phone friends, participate in fitness classes, and play games. But you need to stay mindful of scams. Scams related to the COVID-19 virus are rising. These include attempts to obtain personal information from seniors, including pitching unreliable products, advice, tests, and cures. You need to stay vigilant and be cautious. If you feel that you have been taken advantage of, it's okay for you to reach out to somebody you know and seek out advice, or even contact your medical provider. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Oakland County Executive Dave Coulter. Our top priority remains slowing the spread of COVID-19 in our communities. please stay home. And when you must go out to an essential business, take precautions like social distancing and washing your hands when you come home. Because of the pandemic, we are behind in our response rate in Michigan. While you are home, please take a few minutes to fill out the census. It is more important than ever that we receive money back from our federal government. The census is Oakland Together.
All right, welcome back. Megacast on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH, the Biv. Oh, I can't touch my face. Did you see that? I was touching my face.
So disappointed.
Major coronavirus faux pas. 88.1 WBFH, the Biv, WAHS 89.5, Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, Channel 15, Bama, Birmingham area, Municipal Access Channel 15, on Comcast Channel 99, on AT&T, all across the region. We thank you very much for tuning in. Do we have a Facebook partner today, or did we?
No, we're on our own Facebook page today.
Oh, well, then we are our Facebook partner. So you can actually go to the Civic Center TV Facebook page, and or the Lakes FM, or both, or one of the
Go to civiccentertv.com, Civic Center TV Facebook page, and I'm sure we're sharing that on Lakes FM as well. And while you're there, go ahead and hit the like button.
Please. Please. We are working on our app. We got a little distracted with a couple of projects, but in the next couple of days, we'll have big news of how you can go out to the App Store and grab our app, and then you'll be able to watch and listen that way as well. So, Tyler, big story today, of course, is manufacturing opening back up here in the state of Michigan. And I really like what Chris just said a couple of minutes ago. Chris Braniecki from IQ Manufacturing, he said it was a lot easier to implement that stuff, just taking the information off the Oakland County website. I'm going to go to it here in a minute. But, it just, again, proves all things are local.
It does, and on top of that, it's good to know that these companies, especially in manufacturing and other industries that were for a while a little bit questionable about whether or not they'd be able to adjust quickly after they're reopened, have been following along and have been tailoring their reopening plans to the information that's out there. And for them to make a quick transition back where May 11th, they are announced as being reopened and restrictions are lifted, and by the time that between the executive order going into effect and now as they're reopening, they had those plans in place. It goes to show that they were really well prepared, and it goes to show that the resources locally and statewide are more than sufficient to help these businesses of all different kinds come back stronger.
Okay, so I am on the Oakland County website. We're going to mine backwards, okay, because, I kind of got my breadcrumbs, so we're going to backward breadcrumbs so we can show people where we're at. But if you're watching online right now, you can go into the business area of the Oakland County website, which is linked right off of civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Not hard to find. There you're going to find the governor's executive order, and you can do that, but you can also go in, and in this paragraph, on the top of the business page in the coronavirus area, you can go in and find the order from the county. So the governor issued Order 2020-70, and that order is the Stay Home, Stay Safe update and extension. And then Coulter ordered 2020-7, and that comes from the Oakland County Health Department, right? Who's going to remember all these numbers?
No.
But the link is right there on the website. So you can go in there, and the executive order is there, and then they have this thing in here. I want to look at this. I've not looked at it yet, but it's awesome. It is a emergency order toolkit. So you can go right in here, and everything you need, Tyler, is right in. That is beautiful what the county did.
It is, and it's in good detail. It's simple. It's right to the point, and it helps give you a guide. This is what you need to prepare. You need to prepare to have employees be screened for COVID-19 symptoms.
We worked over the weekend, to get all the updated information we're going to post up here before we get out of here today.
Yes.
I work hours. I mean, we could have just printed this thing off and put this up. It probably would have sufficed. But it says, if you're not watching online, In accordance with Oakland County Health Order 2020-7, essential operations and services are required to screen employees for COVID-19 symptoms, public-facing employees to wear face coverings, provide visible guidance of 6-foot physical distancing. As for the retails, and I've been seeing that everywhere.
I have. I've been seeing a lot. It started off first. I saw it in grocery stores. You have markers for 6 feet between you and the next person in line for checking out, and then there's the arrows going into the certain aisles. This is a one-way aisle.
Yep.
You go this way, other people go the other way, and you're just gonna have to do some extra navigating. That works in other places.
And then the next instruction, limit capacity to comply with the 6-foot social distancing. So you can't have too many people in your retail establishment. And then publish a notice at the entrance. And I've seen most of the people have been doing that. Yes. But if you don't really know how to do all that, all you got to do is go in here and they've got all the notices and all the instructions, not only just for the residential businesses, but for your manufacturing. So like these monster companies, they've got these big departments and lawyers and HR resources. But if you're just trying to run your own little company, or you are an employee and you want to make sure that your employer is doing all the right stuff, just go to our website. So I'm breadcrumbing back if you're on civiccentertv.com. Go to Oakland County. First of all, go to civiccentertv.com, coronavirus. Easy to remember, right? Then go to the Oakland County link, silly easy to remember. And then down here you could see community partners and businesses in the toolkit right down on the bottom of the page, and then you can pick whatever you are. And if you're not a business and you're a healthcare provider, or you're a child care provider, or you work in residential housing, or you're a first responder, or you're worried about mom and dad and you want to find out what seniors need to do and what the senior centers need to do, it's all here. I've not looked at this information in a couple days. Really good stuff. And as manufacturing is opening, the details and the information is there. I urge you to go take a look, all right? We are going to say hello to our next guest now. I'm going to try to hit a couple of buttons. Hopefully we can do this correctly now. And there we go. How about that? Joining us now via Zoom is State Representative Ryan Berman. He is of the 39th District, covers a large swath of our Civic Center TV, Lakes FM, and Megacast broadcast area. Representative Berman, there you are. Good to see you again.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing good. You need to work on your decorating a little bit, though. I mean, all I see is a blank wall and an air vent. You must be working so hard you got no time to decorate it all.
I'm going to have to. I'll put something up for you next time.
I'm just picking on you. It's so funny, though, because we go to these Zoom calls and, like, we see all these people with these lovely houses, and then they're in their really elegant office. And listen, I'm not picking on you. It's kind of like a mirror image, because my Zoom office looks identical. It's like there's just a plain wall, and then that's about it. So, I know you're busy, and you know we've all been watching what's going on up in Owasso. You know, with the barber up in Owasso, and it just on some level, I get that guy's thing, but on some level, it's kind of frustrating because you got this guy who's really frustrated, right? And so he just goes and opens his business. And I don't know what's happening up there today, but the media reports from over the weekend said that he was going to get shut down today. And, there's a lot of troopers out there. And then you got the militia guys that, that don't want to let him in. And sorry to get off to a rough start with you. But, 99% of everything else that's going on is working really well. That's a pretty good example of a little bit of a struggle and a tough time.
Yeah, I think there's, frustrations all around. I mean, I think whether you agree or not with what's been happening, the measures being put in place, I think people are frustrated that they can't go out and work, and people are frustrated that others want to go out and they want to remain safe. And just like anything else in society, I mean, it's a balancing act. And, what we have to do is, look at the big picture. And with any issue, it's not just, in a vacuum. And this pandemic and medical issues are not just in a vacuum. It touches every part of our lives. It's a domino effect. So, we can't stay in our homes forever. And you do that, and there's a lot of other news of the taxes, again, we have unemployment and these stimulus monies, but that is really the taxpayers' own money coming back to them. Okay, the federal government just doesn't print money, and that's not how it works, out of thin air. And we have to look at these implications of, taxes coming back in, running our government, running these businesses. A lot of these businesses are being shut down. I think I just heard it's 40% of the restaurants are not going to reopen. And this is, our food supply chain, is starting to break down with closures of different plants and processing, and things are kind of looking bleak. But, when we are reopening and other states reopening and doing it, and I think it's what you said in your previous about the Oakland County health orders, and, it's that balancing of doing something, but doing it safely. I think last time I was interviewed by you, it was talking about that dichotomy of essential versus non-essential. And I believe, my position the whole time, I think that's a false dichotomy. It should be what could be done safely versus non-safely. And whether that barber in Owasso who's wearing a mask, doing things like that. And again, that's close personal contact. I'm not going to be driving to Owasso, getting my hair cut. I don't think I'm going to be getting my hair cut. I mean, I've been cutting my own hair.
I was going to say, I don't know what you're doing, but you got a good trim there, Representative Berman. You take a look at me. This is just the only reason my dude looks as slick as it does is thanks to a little bit, actually, an awful lot of gel I've been using to get through it. But you got some skills there. You're able to cut your own hair pretty well. Or do you getting some help from somebody else in the house?
When you have a short military type almost haircut, it's kind of easy to do it.
All right.
But
what do you think?
I'm not working with much anyways. So.
Oh, you're doing. You look great. But what do you think about that? I mean, I don't want to dwell on the Owasso thing, but I clearly, there's a lot to be said for both sides of that argument.
Yeah, but and again, I think it comes down to, knowing the dangers, knowing what's out there, what's the proper role for government to play in this versus businesses and individuals. At the end of the day, before this pandemic, we knew of certain businesses or restaurants that maybe weren't as clean and you would kind of avoid. And I think that's what's going to go through this, afterwards, is who's taking proper precautions to make the customers feel safe. And at the end of the day, it's up to customers, it's up to the people to decide whether they feel comfortable knowing the risks to go to an establishment, to go to a certain place, to go get their haircut. It's their choice. And that's what makes America and capitalism and our economy, our country, what it is. If you don't feel safe, don't go. Stay at home. We know what the risks are. The whole part, and again, the governor's orders initially to do the stay-at-home order is to flatten the curve. And we've done that, and I get it. There's always going to be, and they're talking about a second wave, there's always that threat. But just knowing and what has done and these changing behaviors, changing your physical distancing, whether it's wearing masks, shaking hands, washing your hands, I think that's going to contribute a lot to what those numbers are. Now that we have the data, again, I don't believe it supports these continuing lockdown restrictions.
All right, Ryan Berman with us. He is a representative, your Michigan State Representative from the 39th District. And, I love doing this show because we get to hear a variety of opinion. That's what America is all about, and that's what we're trying to do here. You're saying, I think if I'm hearing what you're saying is people have the ability to make these decisions for themselves, and you'd like to see things opened up a little bit more. We heard from Dave Coulter, County Executive, who's on the other side of the aisle with a slightly different opinion. So, we're going to have to get this thing sorted out. Legislature has sued the governor. We're going to see some action on that. Do you have any update where we are at this week?
Yeah, so I mean, again, and I think unfortunately this is turning into a political thing, right? And before I get into the lawsuit, where you have a lot of people trying to support the governor because they're of the same party. You know, last time I was on your interview, I was talking about having these outdoor, whether it's construction, landscaping, fertilizing companies, and I ended up getting blasted for that. And 2 days later, the governor comes out and says, yeah, landscaping can go back to work. And there's crickets. Nobody was complaining about it because it came from her. And I think we have to take a step back and look at things from a rational, reasonable perspective, and, you know, not who's the messenger, but what the message is, and not make it so political. The lawsuit that the legislature has enacted, and again, I just said what my personal thoughts were on the orders. And yeah, they may differ, but I don't think that's a partisan thing. And the legislature isn't suing the governor because of her orders. And it's not that whether we like or dislike her orders. That's not the issue here. A lot of my colleagues and a lot of Republicans agree with it and agree with what she's doing. You know, the reality is no matter, especially in a district I'm in anything half semi-contentious, you vote one way or you vote the other, you're going to always upset half of the people. So you need to make decisions, you know, with the data and everything, and rational and coming together consensus. And that's what I try to do. But going back to the lawsuit, it's not a political thing. And I would be standing up for the same thing, whether, and it wasn't, the votes weren't on exactly party lines. There were Democrats that voted along with us. It's a constitutional issue, and it's the proper role with the separation of powers. Here in our system of government, and it's enshrined in our Michigan Constitution, we have a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and an executive branch. You know, this is going back to elementary school, the fundamentals you learn in civics. The legislature makes the laws, the executive enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. Now, what's happened is that we see the governor, the executive, who enforces the laws, she's been making the laws. And she has discretion, just like any police officer, you know, enforcing the law, whether to write you a ticket or not, whether, you know, stop you for speeding. They have like the ultimate discretion of whether you're going to end up getting charged or do something like that. So in that respects of enforcing the law, there's much discretion. The way the governor has of whether to suspend certain laws during this pandemic or allow some leeway, things like that. But when she starts making the law and doing orders, again, without the legislature's oversight or input, she's getting into the realm of legislating.
Ryan Berman, do you think it became an issue because it's been going on so long? I mean, clearly the governor, yes. I don't think anyone dispute the governor needs to be able to do some quick draw executive orders when an emergency breaks out. But this has been going on for a while, and it seems to me that's the root of this complaint with the governor is that, you know, it's been going on for a while. The legislature wants to speak up on this and have some input on what we're doing and going forward. Is that correct?
No, that's 100% correct. So again, constitutionally, our Michigan Constitution says no branch can exercise the powers of another branch. However, back in 1945 and then in 1976, there's two acts, an Emergency Powers of Governor Act and also the Emergency Management Act, that allows a governor in times of an emergency to have certain powers and broad powers, but also to be constitutional, they have to be restricted. You can't just grant a general power to the governor, which we're seeing right now her basically using. So the 1976 Act places limits in what type of situations and also the length of time for legislative input and oversight. It grants 28 days. And what happened is if it goes beyond 28 days, both chambers of the legislature have to approve by a concurrent resolution. We did that back on April 7th till April 30th. So we extended that 28-day period an extra 23 days to April 30th. She asked for that extension. We gave her an extension. She's now asked for another extension on April 30th, and we couldn't come to terms with her. So we decided to not grant that extension. And that's when she unilaterally ended the emergency, which she had to do under the statutes. But then not 1 minute later, enacted a new emergency, if you will, with the same underlying fact patterns in the COVID-19, and to start this 28-day window over again, which is obviously, I mean, just kind of absurd. She could keep doing it in perpetuity and just say, oh, we don't have a legislature anymore. And I don't think that the, framers, I don't think our people and our constitutional government operates that way.
All right, well, it's Schoolhouse Rock time, ladies and gentlemen, because now we got the governor, we got the legislature, and we've got the courts all involved. So we'll watch and see how this thing's going to play out, and we'll keep an eye on it. Ryan Berman, State Representative, 39th District, you've got your magic wand. What would you be doing today if you were governor and you had that ultimate authority with the restaurants and some of the other sectors of business that aren't open? Do you want to see, our restaurants in West Bloomfield and other locations start to open up pretty soon?
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that we have health codes. We have things that restaurants have to do now. And again, it's putting more standards, if that's what it takes, in there, where even locally, when you're talking about Oakland County Health Department, before the governor's orders, we dealt with, and I think we need to have a regional, local response of saying, hey, whatever your capacity is, you have to limit it. We limited it at 50% initially. I think going back, there's plans out there doing 25% capacity. I think whether there was a limit or not, restaurants are going to do it on their own. They already talked about taking out tables, separating, make sure it's that physical distance standards. And I absolutely agree. I'd say let them open up. And again, I don't think people are going to be rushing to go into these restaurants. They're going to see it's going to take time to build up their clientele and make people feel safe again. And at the end of the day, again, it is those customers, our residents, it's their decisions whether they want to frequent the restaurant or not. But I say let them do it, not tie their hands and say they can't. If they end up going out of business, it's not because the government forced them. It's because of just the market and people's feelings and safety.
I'm trying to stay out of the weeds in all this, but I can't ask the questions I want to ask without getting in the weeds a little bit. So manufacturing opens up. Do you see manufacturing as being any different than some of the other sectors in our economy? Some critics of the governor have said she's picking winners and losers without a lot of rationale. And you take a look at manufacturing in Michigan, tremendous amount, and I don't want to get political, but a tremendous amount of political influence here in Michigan. And now manufacturing is going to open up. And, you look at, again, some would say you look at a big manufacturing plant like an auto plant, and you measure that against a restaurant, and maybe there's not a whole lot of difference. What are your thoughts?
I think, on the one hand, when you're opening up businesses, and what I've said all along when she did this dichotomy of essential versus non-essential businesses, these non-essential businesses, or she claims are non-essential, these, whether it's a random, whatever type of company, the general public isn't going to those businesses. So those interactions aren't happening for more spread. It's the gas stations, the grocery stores, convenience stores, the things that have been open this entire time. Those are still the same points that me, myself, you, other people in random businesses are all going to go to at some point. Those are the contact points that somebody is going to, leave their germs, get germs, something like that, where you have to be more careful. It's not the random businesses that we aren't going to. The same thing for manufacturing. You have people, only the workers typically are going to go there. So I think in that respect, maybe, restaurants, which are open to the general public, everybody's going to, are a bit more, at risk. But it's one of those things of let it happen if you feel comfortable going versus not.
All right, Ryan. Well, I appreciate your thoughts. Representative Ryan Berman, Michigan State Representative, 39th District, joining us here in the Megacast today. Anywhere else you want to go? It's good to talk to you. I appreciate you coming on and just saying what you're thinking. I don't hear a lot of spin coming from you, so I appreciate it. Anything else you want to share with our viewers today, listeners?
I mean, again, my office is always available. We're, in this time, my constituent relations guy, Zach, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's basically working for the Unemployment Insurance Agency, our economy, our people. And again, it's not putting profits over people. It's putting people first. Everybody says we're all in this together, but we're not all in the same boat. People are getting paid to work remotely. Some people aren't getting paid. Their businesses are getting shut down. We're not in the same boat. We're in the same circumstance, and it's hopefully everybody to get through this. I'm hearing it from people even this morning. Is May 28th, is that it? Can I open up? And unfortunately, and that's what this lawsuit is all about, I don't know. Nobody knows. Only the governor knows, because she's the only one making these decisions right now, and I think that's wrong. Whether she's a Democrat or Republican, I would be saying the same thing in the same lawsuit, because I believe and I swore an oath to uphold and defend our Constitution. And for me not to do that is basically saying the job and role I'm in right now as a legislature is meaningless. And I would want the governor to do my job. And that's not how it works. So, I'm here for you guys, repberman.com. You can go and contact my office anytime, and appreciate you having me.
All right. Well, thank you very much. One final question. The Crain's Detroit Business today has an article talking about the $4.6 billion unemployment fund that we have in Michigan. You look at us versus some other states, we've done a pretty good job of building that fund up over several years, and a really interesting article about that, again, in Crain's Detroit Business today. But even so, even with our fund, which is in a lot better shape than most of the other states, is only going to last so long. Is that something the legislature is looking at? You're worried about? Discussions are going on, or have we not mined down to that one yet?
No, absolutely. We have a few different task forces going on right now in the legislature. One of them is for these business, which includes unemployment. I know we have an oversight committee, coronavirus oversight task force that was created, and they're actually meeting on Wednesday, and their first issue is to go and look into what's going on with our unemployment insurance agency, how it's working right now, how it's not working for the people. And one of those issues that will end up being brought up is the amount and how sustainable and what's going to happen to that money, because it's paid in by the businesses. And with this time and being unprecedented, and we have over 1.2 million unemployment claims right now, and it's just staggering what a toll it's going to take, even when you factor in federal and some of the federal stimulus money that hopefully could end up maybe replenishing. But it's a big issue.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully the money will be there, and hopefully we're going to come out of this thing quick, too. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Nobody knows, but thank you, Representative Berman, for joining us today. Good to talk to you again.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
And we enjoy our chats. Thank you, sir. He is State Representative Ryan Berman from the 39th District. Tyler Keefe, we're going to take a break, and we'll go through some of the top news stories of the day and take care of the other business of the day here. And that includes, I don't think we've gone through the vocabulary in a couple of days. I miss doing that every day.
We have not.
All right, so we get caught up on our business at hand and be right back. Megacast right here on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 The Biff, WAHS, Avondale Community Radio, and our many and numerous community television channels. Right back.
The coronavirus, and we're working hard to combat its spread and keep your family safe. But we need your help too. Wash your hands often with soap for at least 20 seconds. Avoid touching your face and cough into your sleeve. Replace handshakes with an elbow bump. Avoid large crowds or events, and if you're sick, stay home and call your health provider. Every one of us can make a difference limiting the virus's spread and keeping Michigan healthy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19. Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Khaldun. We know that COVID-19 is spreading rapidly across Michigan right now. The most important thing people can do to protect themselves is social distancing. That means unless you are a critical infrastructure worker or going out to get food or medicine for your home, you should be staying at home. Stay home, stay safe, save lives.
Stay home, stay safe, save lives. She missed one of the 4 pillars. Tyler Keefe of the current coronavirus situation here. Stay home, stay safe, save lives. Listen religiously to the Megacast. It should be obvious. I don't know how she missed that one.
I don't know how you missed
it should be obvious. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Dave Scott, Tyler Keefe at our Civic Center TV Lakes FM studios and Walnut Lake Road in West Bloomfield. The fact that we are physically sitting in West Bloomfield does not diminish our love, even to the slightest degree, for the other fantastic communities around Oakland County that we serve each and every day, and that includes Pontiac and Auburn Hills and Birmingham and Rochester Hills, Waterford and Commerce Township, and even, as Dave Coulter insisted, I mentioned earlier in the show, even the community of Ferndale, where they can watch us each and every day on CivicCenterTV.com. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to go through the headlines here over the next couple of minutes, and we're going to run down our COVID-19 vocabulary, where we bring you up to date on the things that you should be doing, and trying to help you with the complexities of the coronavirus issues here. Taking a look at our news stories that you will find today at CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. Tyler, I am going to break format and start at the bottom of the page, because there's some really interesting things down here, and work my way up. And I've also got to the stuff at the top of the page earlier. So you can follow along at the home version of the show by going to CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. That's kind of a dated reference. Do you even know what that reference means at all?
No.
See, when the old game shows, they always used to have like a home version of the game show, and they would promote that, and you could, like you're watching Jeopardy or something like that, and you can play along with a home version of the show, and then they, like some little cheesy home version of whatever the show was. Okay, so the current internet era equivalent is CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. One of the most useful pages you'll find, and many of our guests pointed it out today, earlier when you go to the website, is the Oakland County coronavirus website. So much information there. And we leave a major link to the coronavirus cases by zip code. And if you've not gone in here in a while, it's really a handy place to go. If you're looking for a barometer, a measuring stick, some kind of update on what's going on, let's say you're tuning in this morning and you live in Franklin Village, you can go there and see the population is 14,000, and there have been 58 cases, 16 deaths. And, that kind of brings things home. You look at little old Franklin, and it's actually Franklin and areas beyond. It's not just Franklin. But that zip code, which includes part of Southfield, there have been 16 deaths in just that one community. We click on the Bloomfield Township zip code of 302, and we see there have been 6 deaths there. So don't think that we are diminishing the impact of this as we're staying kind of lighthearted here in the show. I very seriously understand the amazing, not amazing, but the significant impact that all this has had. And if you just need a little reminder for a minute for it all to hit home, go to civiccentertv.com and go to the cases by zip code. Conversely, Tyler, you can go in there and feel awful good because the numbers are definitely on the way down, and it's nice to see our health organizations in the state and around the country reporting those that have been cured as well. Great to see those numbers.
It is, and we've come a long way from preparing TCF Cobo Center down in downtown Detroit and preparing the suburban collection to be overflow locations for treating patients to now seeing a point where those operations are being wound down or eliminated altogether, and people are recovering, and our communities are recovering.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to shut those down,
No.
but, you know, it's interesting you bring both of those up. Neither one of those big facilities really ever serviced that many patients. It just, it was there, we needed it, but we were able to, just get by with our, barely, just get by with our hospitals, and they've been doing a great job.
Absolutely.
But, by the way, as long as we're going down this area of conversation, it is hospital week this week. So we salute our hospitals. We're working on some programs to do something more specific we'll talk about later on in the week. But to all the workers at the hospitals around the state of Michigan, we congratulate you. Tied to the zip code chart right above it, very positive notes, a story from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services you'll find on our Civic Center TV website. Again, starting from the bottom of the page and working up, Michigan reports the lowest number of single-day coronavirus deaths since March. Great news, Tyler.
Yeah, very good news. Numbers continue to go down, and we're seeing good numbers here in Oakland County.
All right, back on the website, Michigan to receive 40 cases of experimental antiviral drug approved for coronavirus. And remdesivir is really working out pretty well. The question is now, can we get enough of it for the entire country to be able to help those patients and continue to see the positive impact? Just one of the treatments that they're working on. Another story, I don't know if it's in here or not, we might get to it in a couple of minutes. Pfizer in West Michigan, they're working on not treatments, but they're actually working on vaccines. And it might be, you never know. We don't know the final chapter on this, but Michigan may end up being the state, the region, the place where the vaccine that turns this thing around is created.
Yeah, Governor Whitmer mentioned that last week in one of her press conferences, that the trials have begun and that the manufacturing of that vaccine the vaccine trial by Pfizer has begun in Michigan.
So we wish them the very best of luck, and hopefully they will come up with the answer. Back to the website. Headline, Michigan restaurants and bars hope to reopen for dine-in by May 29th. And you heard the reference from Representative Berman. It's just a natural line in the sand that people are going to draw. That's the next big end of the stay-home order period, and it's right at the end of the month, and it's getting to June. And we know the restaurants and bars want to get open. They have actually put together a plan, and you can find it on their website. They're not waiting for the governor to put together her plan. They have put together their plan to open on the 29th and have sent it to the governor. Kind of an interesting strategy.
It is, but I think it's something that could be workable, and if it helps them to reopen, then it's exactly what they're going for. It's better to show the governor and to show the executive branch that we have an idea of how we're going to go about reopening safely. Is this satisfactory? What can we change? Can we find a compromise? And it's only prudent to do so.
All right, I know you don't really care, and I don't really care who does this coronavirus contact tracing, but, like the barber in Owasso, which has been a story, it's been reported, and the whole thing got to be a big story because there was an organization, the first organization to get the contract to be able to do contact tracing, happened to be an organization that did a lot of Democratic polling. And that contract was handed out without a lot of oversight. And as soon as everybody saw that, red flags went up all over the place, and the contract was canceled. Now, a new contract, and this contact tracing, the contact tracing, that is, they say is very important because we find people that have the virus who want to go back and find out who they've been in contact with over the past several days to let them know that they need to quarantine as well. Right? So a major aspect of the reopening of Michigan's economy is government officials knowing who has COVID-19. I would modify that story to say to let the people who have it know, right? And so they can stop spreading it. Federal government has set aside nearly $11 billion for states to run a program here in the state of Michigan. The folks that are going to be running that program look right downtown to CompuWare because they've got a big call-out center there. And I guess maybe the idea of having a big contract from the state of Michigan didn't sound like a bad idea for them. But no, they're, in all honesty, they're set up to do it down there. They have the staff, the people. My guess is they're not writing a lot of loans right now, maybe not as many. So Dan Gilbert, bless his soul, he's done so much for us in the state of Michigan. If this is another thing that he can do to help and his people can do to help, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. You want to have a company, or you want to have people, personnel that are able to do that and put the time in and put the effort in, but also be effective in it, because that's the big preventative tactic that continues to allow us to open things back up.
We have a story here. It says the Michigan Department of State extends layoffs, and amid the pandemic, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson announced that nearly 900 state employees laid off, and that's going to be extended. Also extended, if you missed it last week, under the governor's orders, if your driver's license is expired, and it expired, I think it's from February 1st to May or wherever we are right now, don't worry about it. You're fine. You can do it in July when everything gets back to normal. So I've been freaking out because I'm driving around with expired tabs and a bad license, and I'm just thinking, but no, it's okay. All right. I happen to have my birthday in March. And for those of you that didn't send me a present, we'll have to talk about that. Michigan reopens manufacturing today. That is the big news, of course. That's what we've been focusing on. And, it's just funny as we chase down a number of manufacturers that are opening their doors today, we happen to run into some companies, Tyler, that did a really good job pivoting. And their advice was continue to look for the ability to pivot. And if you go to try to open up your doors, just go to the Oakland County website, because all the resources and tools that you need to get the instructions for what your employees should be doing, they're all right there on the website. Just follow their guidelines and you're all set.
You have to find some way to practically and to prudently get your operation back to a normal setting. But at the same time, take the lessons that you've learned through this process, that at any given time after your doors reopen, you could have another situation where your doors are going to be closed. What can you do to keep your business alive in that scenario? And for a lot of these manufacturers, they pivoted in this case to producing hand sanitizer, producing PPE. And while this crisis still continues on, even as it gradually, as we hope, comes to a close, having those other provisions in place to pivot when needed, or to do additional work on top of the normal operations as things slowly but surely return to normal, it's a best practice for them, and it's a best practice really generally for the public.
So as we take a look at a lot of these issues in reopening, and I think Representative Burman said it well a couple of minutes ago on the show, we can decide when businesses are going to open, but really the consumers make the ultimate decision as to whether or not people are going to come back to these businesses. And, I've been watching all these different stories, and Tyler, I still want to have a summer. That summers in Michigan make the rest of the year bearable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we go crazy in summer around here, right? Our summers are huge. We go up north, we go by the lake, we get out on our bicycles, we walk, we golf, we fish, we do all these wonderful things and really enjoy it. And, I think some of the reality is beginning to set in a little bit for folks that this summer may not be the summer that we were all hoping it would be.
Yeah, it's a huge time as well for Michigan's economy. We spoke recently to the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, and that's the time of the year where these restaurants and these hotels are making the most of their money because people are traveling through our state. They're coming in from other states to see our beautiful landscapes and landmarks all throughout the state, whether it be in the Upper Peninsula or in the Lower Peninsula, west side of the state, wherever it may be. It's a big time psychologically, I think, too, for the general public, where they're outdoors after a long winter, after the gloomy on again and off again spring, where it's rainy and cloudy one day and it's sunny and chilly the next day. The summer is where we get out and we enjoy the great state of Michigan. So as much of a summer as we can possibly have, it's good for the general public, and it's going to be good for the economy as well.
Well, and taking a look at summer, trying to have some idea of where we are right now. A really interesting story we have not linked to, but we will on our Civic Center TV website. In the Detroit Free Press today, it gives you some kind of a barometer of where we are. And this is a Phoebe Wall-Howard story in today's Free Press you can go read. And they're talking in here, Tyler, about the delay of summer at Mackinac Island in the Grand Hotel, one of our summer institutions. Originally, they pushed back from the last week of April to the last week of May, and to late June now. They have a new opening date for the Grand Hotel, which is June 21st, the first official weekend of summer. And that may be, a lead that a lot of other people around the state start to follow. But, getting up to Mackinac Island, getting up there for many people, that's what summer is all about. And I think we're going to see the same kind of thing all around the state of Michigan. In this story, and I'm just looking for this quote here. It doesn't really matter who it's from, but we alluded a couple of minutes ago to the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association and the plan they put together. It's not only for the bars and the restaurants, but it's also for the venues and the hotels, and they put a plan together. And in this article, you can go read it for yourself. It says, look, and this is the Michigan Restaurant Association talking now, and they're the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. We know how to do it. We don't need all these false starts. She keeps pushing this down the road. We need some solid dates. So, I know the governor would like to get those solid dates too, but I think what everyone is doing here around Michigan, around the country, and right up and down your main street, I think people, Tyler, are just watching to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We got a bunch of things open, some states soon, some late. Now we have manufacturing opening here in the state of Michigan. It's going to be interesting. We'll all keep our fingers crossed to see if over the next couple of weeks our numbers hold true. And then I think if they do, I think things they're going to open up. They're going to have to.
I would agree. As we get toward the end of the month, it's becoming critical mass for industry, for recreation, and you mentioned the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. When I spoke to them last week, he even said it is absolutely critical that they get open as soon as possible. If they lose June, if they lose July, we're going to see our state in a bad spot. So seeing things continue to be positive and continue to look up, I'm confident that we can hopefully start to roll to the end of this beginning at the end of May.
All right, well, thank you. Those are the big stories that we're watching, and we'll be keeping an eye on for the rest of the week and booking guests. We're going to continue to book guests in our local communities, find out how police, fire, first responders, our hospitals are doing on this hospital week here in the state of Michigan, and then continue to look at businesses opening. Good luck with manufacturing opening today. We got the golf carts out there, the golf courses, the landscapers. We've really come a long way over the past couple of weeks, and we'll continue to talk to those businesses that begin to open their doors and talk to folks that want to open their doors. And we'll also, throughout the week, be talking to folks that have good stories, successes, things are going well. So we'll have more of that, and, of course, more in those who we have lost. A happy Mother's Day posthumously to all of the moms that were out there. I hope you had a really good weekend, and I certainly miss my mom, and I know that for those of you that had a chance to enjoy the weekend, but you couldn't get to your mom because she was isolated somewhere else, it was probably a tough weekend. So our thoughts are with you and all of your moms. Tyler, we got about 30 seconds. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's well said. And it was good to hear some stories of preparation in our community and in the Oakland County area as industries reopen and as other industries prepare to reopen. I think that's going to be a big theme of this week and next few weeks is how do we prepare to make that happen so that it's a smooth transition back to some semblance of normalcy.
And as you're trying to figure it all out for your business so you do it the right way, just go to that Oakland County website. They got some really terrific information. It'll be very helpful for you. So that is going to be it. Thanks to you for tuning in. Thanks to 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 WBFH The Biff, WAHS, 89.5 Avondale Community Radio, Civic Center TV, civiccentertv.com. Go to the Facebook page and just like us if you would. That was where you were watching and listening today. And thank you very much for being a part of the broadcast. We will all be back across all of these stations tomorrow morning at 10.